Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of my colleague Mr. Moran's amendment to strike this rider in the fiscal year 2013 Energy and Water Development Appropriations Act. For 40 years, the Clean Water Act has helped remove pollution from our drinking water and protect our precious natural resources. The Act regulates the discharge of pollution into navigable waters, but put simply, it makes sure that a glass of water you get from the tap or the fish you catch in any fishing hole or river isn't contaminated by pollutants. Now, some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle forget that before the Clean Water Act was passed, rivers caught on fire, oil spilled in inland waters, and that was rampant, and few communities had modern wastewater treatment facilities. This ill-conceived rider in this bill would have a severe impact on the home state of Maryland. In fact, the EPA estimates that 55% of the streams in Maryland either do not flow year-round or are first-order headwater streams. These are waters most vulnerable to pollution or destruction if the Army and the EPA are not, Army Corps and the EPA are not able to adopt policies to restore long-standing protections for these waters. And without these protections, sewage and industrial waste discharges, oil spills, and completely filling in streams for development may not be subject to federal law, even when streams provide drinking water, as they do in the 4th Congressional District of Maryland. EPA says that 3,990,016 people in Maryland receive some of their drinking water from areas containing these smaller streams. In Montgomery County alone, 1,846,500 residents are at risk of having their drinking water polluted. These residents use surface water supplied by public drinking water systems that rely on smaller streams that are at risk of losing clean water protections. Also, many waters in Maryland, from small streams to the Chesapeake Bay, are interstate waters. Without strong federal safeguards for waters of the United States, those states that want to or are able to take state-level steps to protect waters will be unsuccessful. Even with the Clean Water Act, the Potomac River, I live on the banks of the Potomac River, is listed as the most endangered river by the group American Rivers as part of their 2012 America's Most Endangered Rivers. The river receives this inauspicious award because it's polluted by agriculture runoff, sewage runoff from roadways, and enough pharmaceuticals that male fish have been caught with female characteristics. The Anacostia River, which also flows through my district, is polluted by trash sewage and other contaminants. But a cleanup of the Anacostia is taking place due in no small part to the guidance provided under the Clean Water Act. Urban rivers like the Potomac and Anacostia are affected by runoff from streets and parking structures. And I want to pause here for a minute because all of us here in this Capitol receive our water, our tap water and our drinking water from those waters that I'm talking about in the Anacostia and the Potomac. And so keep that in mind, members of Congress, when you're drinking a glass of water. And it's one of the many reasons that I favor public transportation, transit-oriented development, and bike riding. Our air and water are protected when we make smart transportation decisions. And I have to say, in this Congress, we haven't made a single smart transportation and jobs decision in this Congress since the Republicans took over. But it's why I support a bipartisan and Senate-passed MAP 21 and hope that conferees agree to a report that reflects the priorities in that bill, because that's about protecting our drinking water. And so let's be clear about what's at stake. The Clean Water Act protects almost 60% of U.S. streams, and that's why 33 states joined a brief in the most recent Supreme Court case on the issue, urging the court to uphold federal protections for wetlands adjacent to non-navigable tributaries. These states noted that federal safeguards were critical because water flows between states, because maintaining a federal floor of pollution control creates parity among states, and because states have come to rely on federal protections and would face significant administrative and financial burdens if they were solely responsible for these requirements. Now the success of the Clean Water Act is being threatened by a dirty water rider attached to the fiscal 2013 Energy and Water Appropriations bill. I hope you'll join with me and millions of people across the country to stand up for clean water, for safe drinking water, for the health of fishermen, and for fishing life. Future generations will not remember the industries we've made slightly wealthier by rolling back this bipartisan passed bill, but they will know, our future generations will know, that we are the reason their drinking water is making them sick. I urge my colleagues to vote for the Moran-Dingell Amendment and to strike this dangerous and reckless rider, and with that I yield.